easy, but trust me, in every other part after this, the bosses get way harder, and I get way more mad, so stay tuned. So on day 1, I joined, and I opened my spawn bag, and I checked my boss list. After checking the boss list, my first plan and goal was to kill the King Slime, and then after that, kill the Desert Scourge. I got loot from a cave, and I made a starter base. Then I crafted myself some Hermes boots because Calamity adds in some craftable recipes to reduce the RNG, which is pretty nice. On day 2 to 3, I got a lot of things. I went into the desert, I found a pyramid, and I got a sandstorm and a bottom. The first thing I wanted to get was Wolfram armor. This is a very early on armor set that you can get from Wolfram enemies that spawn mainly on the surface in early game. I made a sun spirit staff, I made Wolfram legs, and I began making an arena in the desert. While exploring underground, I got a storm jaw staff. This spawns little storm lions, which are pretty good, and minions early on are going to be really helpful. A more rare enemy called the Nidrion spawned, and typically you can't kill it at this point, but since I had these summons, I was able to kill it. I dropped enough materials to craft Victide bars. I used these bars to make a bow, which is really useful. And then on day 4, I actually spawned the King Slime as fast as possible, and I was careful because there was going to be a new mechanic in this fight because this was Revengeance mode. And the King Slime fight went like a normal King Slime fight, except there was a point in the fight where his gem comes off his crown and started firing lasers at me. But other than that, it was pretty easy. Oh my gosh, I killed him. Now these are some lore items that you can read in the game, which are really cool, but I'm just gonna read all of them if I can. But yeah, here's King Slimes. Only a fool could be caught by this pitiful excuse for a hunter. Unfortunately, our world has no shortage of those. After killing the King Slime, I made my little cave mining down, and then I got enough materials to make an amethyst hook. Now on day 5, I built more houses. You know, this was a 1.4, so you can just build all your houses in the same area. At this point, I killed enough Wolfram enemies to make the full Wolfram armor set, and I thought that this would probably be the right time to kill the Desert Scourge. So I went to the corruption to craft the spawners, and I got a lot of heart crystals, so that was pretty good. But on day 6, I was preparing to fight the Desert Scourge. Like, I was actually gonna fight it. Now if you don't know, the Desert Scourge is a worm based enemy which is obviously found in the desert, so piercing weapons would be really good against this enemy. I don't know if I should read the lore before or after I beat the boss, but let's just say let's say after, actually. Yeah, also listen to the music is pretty cool. So yeah, I killed it. You know, I thought it would be harder, but I was able to kill it, you know. It's probably because I played a test run before this, but yeah. I actually spawned it twice, and then I actually had enough materials to make the full Victide armor set. And I made both the Summoner set and the Ranger set, which is really cool. I mean, look at this armor set. This is awesome. And then let's read the Desert Scourge item lore. So the Desert Scourge, it was a great sea worm, appears to have survived the extreme heat and has even adapted to it. What used to be a majestic beast swimming through the water has now become a dried up and gluttonous husk, constantly on a voracious search for its next meal. Wow. Now after killing the Desert Scourge, my next destination was the Sunken Sea. This was a sea, a new biome underneath the desert. In this biome, I was going to be looking for the giant clam mini boss. So I eventually found the Sunken Sea biome, and I was walking around looking for the giant clam mini boss, and eventually it did spawn. Now it took me a while to wake it up, but this thing was pretty scary. Like, it teleports above you and slams down on you, but other than that, it had pretty simple attack patterns. Eventually later on, it started spawning a lot of enemies, but I had my own minions, you know, so it wasn't, you know, too hard. After killing it, it spawned Amidius, which is a new NPC. At least I think it's Amidius. There's a lot of words that I don't know how to pronounce in this. Now at this point, I was feeling really confident. You know, this was day 6 and I already killed 2 to 3 bosses. You know, this is really awesome. So I was feeling really confident. So that night, I summoned the Eye of Cthulhu. And like the new King Slime, there's going to be a new phase that I was, you know, not aware of at all. In Revengeance mode, it actually goes in Rage at 75% HP. And then when you get it low enough, it actually